You have a spot in your yard. You know the one. Under the big tree, along the north-facing fence, the side of the house that never sees direct sun. You have put plants there. They struggled. They stretched. They yellowed. They died. And every time you walk past that spot, you either feel guilty about it or you have just stopped looking at it entirely. That spot has not beaten you. You have been choosing the wrong plants for it. And today, that changes. There are 6 perennials that do not just survive shade. They were biologically designed for it. They evolved under forest canopies, on north-facing slopes, and in the dappled light beneath mature tree canopies where direct sun never reaches. Your darkest, most difficult spot is not a problem to fix. It is the precise condition these plants were built to dominate. Before we get into the plants, I want to give you one piece of information that most gardening content skips entirely, and it will determine whether everything you plant this season succeeds or struggles. Not all shade is the same. Full shade means less than 3 hours of direct sun per day. That is the deep, dark corner under a dense tree canopy. Partial shade means 2 to 4 hours of sun. The spot that gets morning light but is blocked by afternoon. Dappled shade is filtered light through a high tree canopy, shifting patterns of sun and shadow throughout the day. Every plant on this list today is matched to a specific shade type. Matching the plant to the condition is the difference between a plant that thrives and one that slowly declines and dies. Nobody at your garden center is going to walk you through this distinction before you buy. Now you know it. Let's go. Drop your US state or USDA hardiness zone in the comments right now. I read every single one and it shapes the content I put out every week. Plant 1, Hosta. If there is one plant that has transformed more dark, defeated, ignored corners of American yards than any other perennial in history, it is this one. And most gardeners are still underusing it. Hosta is hardy in USDA zones 3 through 9. Massive architectural leaves in blue-green, gold, cream-edged, and two-tone varieties that do something almost no other plant does. They get more impressive, more dramatic, and more beautiful every single year. Blue Angel produces large, silver-blue leaves that perform in the deepest shade and is significantly less attractive to slugs than most varieties. Patriot has crisp white and green variegation that literally brightens a dark corner the way a lamp brightens a room. Blue Mouse Ears stays compact and tidy for tight spaces where larger varieties would overwhelm. Here is what most gardening channels never tell you about hostas. Blue-toned varieties are specifically adapted for deeper shade. The blue coloration is a waxy coating on the leaf surface that reflects excess light and protects the plant in low-light conditions. In deep shade, blue hostas outperform green and gold varieties significantly. That is not a preference. That is biology. Every 3 to 4 years divide the clump in early spring. One hosta becomes 3 to 5 plants. At $15 to $20 per plant at any quality nursery, one established hosta produces $45 to $100 worth of free plants from a single morning with a sharp spade. You should never buy a hosta twice. Tell me in the comments right now, what state are you in and do you have a shaded corner that has defeated every plant you have tried? Drop it below. I read every single one. Plant 2, Astilbe. Feathery plumes of red, pink, white, and purple rising above deeply cut fern-like foliage. In partial shade, it produces one of the most spectacular flower displays available to American gardeners. And it does it in the spot where most flowering plants simply refuse to perform. Hardy in USDA, zones 3 through 8. Bridal veil for pure white plumes that glow in shade like something lit from inside. Fanal for deep red flowers above dark bronze foliage. One of the most dramatic color combinations in shade gardening anywhere. Vision series for the most drought-tolerant performance across American growing zones. Here's the counterintuitive fact that most gardening content never mentions. Astilbe actually performs better in a container or a controlled garden bed than in open ground precisely because you control the moisture. In a dry summer, ground planted Astilbe in poorly managed soil struggles. In a properly prepared bed with consistent moisture, it produces bigger plumes, longer bloom periods, and cleaner foliage than you ever expected from a shade plant. Plant in groups of 3 or 5. The visual impact of a mass planting versus a single plant is not incremental, it is transformational. Divide every 3 to 4 years in early spring. Every division is a complete blooming plant worth $12 to $18 at current nursery prices. One established Astilbe clump yields $36 to $90 worth of free plants from a single morning. That is not gardening. That is investing. If you are watching this and you are not subscribed yet, hit that button right now. Not when the video ends. Right now. YouTube only consistently delivers content from channels it knows you follow. This channel puts out real, zone-specific, experience-based gardening content every single week. Hit subscribe. It is free. It takes 2 seconds. Plant 3, Bleeding Heart. There is a moment in early spring, usually before most of your other plants have even broken dormancy, when Bleeding Heart opens its first arching stems covered in perfectly heart-shaped flowers in deep pink, soft rose, or pure white. That moment stops people. It has been stopping people for centuries, and it happens in the shadiest, most protected corner of your yard where almost nothing else is awake yet. Lamprocapnos spectabilis is hardy in USDA, zones 3 through 9. Old-fashioned pink is the classic. Deep pink hearts hanging from arching stems in a display that photographs more beautifully than almost any other spring perennial. Alba is pure white, one of the most elegant plants in any shade garden at any price point. Goldheart has golden foliage that catches whatever light reaches the shaded bed and glows against dark surroundings. Here is what most gardening channels never tell you about Bleeding Heart. It goes dormant in summer. The top growth yellows and disappears completely by July. That is not a failure. That is the plant's strategy. It completes its entire performance in spring, stores energy underground, and emerges again next year stronger than before. Plant summer emerging perennials like hostas and ferns around it to fill the gap it leaves. You get a spring spectacular followed by a seamless summer planting. From one spot, 2 seasons of beauty, 0 additional effort. It is generally not bothered by deer or rabbits. In a garden where deer pressure is a constant problem, Bleeding Heart earns its place on that fact alone. 4 plants in, hit the like button right now. Every like tells YouTube this content is worth showing to gardeners across America who are still staring at that dark corner wondering what to do with it. 1 tap. That is all it takes. Plant 4, Ferns. This is the plant for the spot where everything else has failed. The deep, dark, root-choked ground under a mature tree. The north-facing slope that gets almost no direct light. The dry, shaded area where even hostas struggle. Ferns handle conditions that defeat every other plant on this list, hardy across USDA zones 3 through 8 depending on variety. Ostrich fern reaches 5 feet tall in moist shade. One of the most dramatic native shade plants available to American gardeners, and genuinely spectacular in mass plantings along a shaded fence line or property border. Japanese painted fern pictum has silver-purple decorative fronds that bring a metallic, almost luminous quality to deep shade that no other plant replicates. Autumn fern brilliance produces coppery orange new growth in spring that is unlike anything else available in the shade garden. It looks almost artificially vivid against the surrounding green. Here is the insider fact most gardeners miss. Leave your fallen autumn leaves over established ferns instead of removing them. Those leaves are not clutter. They are natural mulch that insulates the crown through winter, slowly feeds the soil as they break down, and replicate exactly the forest floor conditions ferns evolved in. You are not being lazy. You are being correct. Plant 5, Foamflower. This is the most underrated plant on this entire list. Experienced shade gardeners have it in every border they own, and they do not talk about it much. Beginners have genuinely never heard of it. And that gap between who knows it and who does not is precisely why it belongs here. Tiarella is hardy in USDA zones 3 through 8. Running tapestry spreads as a ground cover and fills gaps between larger shade plants with patterned foliage and small white spring blooms. Sugar and Spice has frosted symmetrical leaves with dark veining that looks genuinely designed. Oak Leaf produces bronze new growth in spring and forms tidy clumps that never become the invasive problem that similar-looking ground covers create. It is related to Heuchera, but more shade-tolerant. Where Heuchera needs 2 to 3 hours of morning light to produce its best foliage color, Foamflower performs in deeper shade that Heuchera cannot handle. If you have a spot too dark for Heuchera, Foamflower is the answer. No deadheading required. No fertilizing needed in fertile soil. No division required for years. It fills in, it blooms, it stays attractive all season, and it asks almost nothing from you in return. Plant 6. Spotted Dead Nettle. Do not let the name put you off. This plant does not sting. It does not bite. What it does is solve one of the most frustrating conditions in all of American home gardening. Dry shade under large established trees where surface roots compete aggressively for every available drop of moisture, and most plants simply refuse to grow. Lamium maculatum is hardy in USD. A zones 3 through 8. Beacon silver has silver leaves and pink flowers that brighten dark spaces the way almost nothing else at this price point can. White Nancy has white flowers and is one of the brightest plants available for deep shade situations. Purple Dragon produces large, deep purple blooms above silver foliage, the most visually dramatic Lamium variety available in the American market. In zones 6 and warmer, it stays semi-evergreen through winter, contributing silver-white ground-level structure and color during the months when everything around it has gone dormant and gray. It spreads through shallow-rooted wandering stems that are easy to pull when needed. Unlike chameleon plant, which I covered in a previous video, spotted dead nettle's shallow roots mean you can actually control it. Pull a stem, it comes out clean. No underground rhizome war. No fragment problem. Just a well-behaved ground cover that stays where you put it and brightens the darkest spots in your yard. Here is the final thing I want to say before you go. That dark corner is not a failure. It is not a problem with your soil or your climate or your gardening ability. It is a condition, and every single plant on this list was biologically built for exactly that condition. Stop fighting your shade. Start matching it. Every one of these plants divides into free plants every 3 to 4 years. Every one of them comes back stronger every spring. Every one of them handles the conditions that have defeated everything else you have tried in that spot. Subscribe right now if you have not already. Hit the bell. And drop 2 things in the comments before you go. What state or zone are you gardening in? And what is the one shaded spot in your yard that has beaten every plant you have ever thrown at it? I read every single comment. I respond to as many as I can, and your answers directly shape the videos I make next. That dark corner is open right now. Go plant something in it.